The Srimad Bhagavatam is love, pure love. But we must say it. We must read. It's very important to read Srimad Bhagavatam. Sometimes, certain devotees want to directly go towards literature that explain the pastimes, Krishna's pastimes in a more confidential way. But unless we are already conscious of our Swarup and having served Radha and Krishna in a spiritual form, this type of scriptures is not adapted to a person. We should rather read the Srimad Bhagavatam, because Srimad Bhagavatam is just like a medicine for the conditioned soul. It allows to establish in the heart all the necessary ingredients to allow for spontaneous devotion to appear in the heart of a person. Spontaneous devotion appears only by a special mercy. And the Srimad Bhagavatam, although it is considered just like Krishna's manifestation in a literary way, he glorifies indirectly or directly Srimati Radharani. This is why we should approach Srimad Bhagavatam with great hope, because it is such a wonderful book. It is the most wonderful book. It is explained that he is the fruit, the ripened fruit of the Vedas. He was touched. This fruit, which is compared to a mango, without skin and without seed. And it was touched by a famous parrot also. It is explained that the mango, when it is touched by a parrot, it becomes more sweet. Why more famous? Why Sukadev Goswami came in this world? We must understand that Sukha is a very particular and intimate parrot of Srimati Radharani. This parrot receives a special teaching from Radharani. He has Radharani as a guru. Radharani teaches him the language of the heart, the language of our love. And she makes him sing Krishna's names like she sings Krishna's names. So when Sukadev comes, he comes with a very particular mission. It is to make even the Bhagavatam to give it a very special taste, so that Mahaprabhu can taste truly the complete essence, the complete sense of it. This is why we should never think that what speaks about Bhagavatam is secondary. Never. It is a great aparad, offense, to think like that. So how did this verse appear? When Garbhodakshay Vishnu manifested from his lotus navel Brahma, the Lord was so big and immense, gigantic, that Brahma was trying to see something. The body of the Lord was so immense. It was just like the sky. It is just like a small part of his body was the whole sky. So it was not possible to see his form because it was so big. And there was darkness in the creation. And Brahma, he thought, if I go up on the lotus stem, if I go down on the lotus stem, I will come to the source. And Prabhupada says that Brahma, he traveled for a long time through this lotus stem, and he almost attained the source. But at some point, he came back. And Brahma was confused because his destiny is to create. He is manifested for that. He was programmed for that. So there was a confusion. What is my service? There's only darkness. What is my service? And the Lord is merciful, very merciful. He came in the form of sound. Prabhupada did not have the capacity to see him. He had the capacity to hear him. And he heard this wonderful instruction tapa, but 3 times. And in Vedic culture, when things are said by 3 times, that means it is irrevocable. It means it's something. It's a way to establish something that cannot be contradicted. Tapa means somehow to engage yourself in austerity. And in austerity is if you want to receive this intelligence from me. And what is very interesting is that Brahma could have said, but who is saying tapa? Well, where are you? The barbarian could say that, hey, who are you to give me an instruction? Huh? We see sometimes, for example, in small bars, in the small villages, there will be alcoholic men always like trying to fight for a status. But Brahma, as soon as he heard this, he thought this is not an ordinary vibration. It's not anybody that can speak like that. So he understood immediately that it was his worshipping Lord, worshipful Lord, and he knew he will obtain everything through this. It's very interesting because Prabhupada says that this austerity is the heart of a devotee, the life of a devotee. Why? We do not obtain Krishna without sacrifices. This is the principle. And once Brahma truly has accomplished what the Lord wanted him to do, so he found himself in Vaikuntha, in the kingdom of the Lord. Incredible, no? Can you believe it? He was found in the kingdom of the Lord, and he could see the Lord face to face with Lakshmi Devi, and he could see the associates of the Lord. He could see the energies of the Lord. And from there, he was able to understand what he had to do. In the same way, when Krishna says Tadvidi Pranipashtena, he says when you come to approach someone who saw the truth, what is the significance? Can you believe someone can become a preacher if he did not realize his eternal nature? Can someone write books? In the same way that Brahma accomplished the creation by having seen the kingdom of the Lord, the abode of the Lord. The Lord could have made him he could have shown him the material creation, but what did he show him? He showed him his reality, a perfect vision, and from this perfect vision then manifested creation. In the same way, to write the glories of the Lord, we must see the Lord face to face. Because we receive this knowledge and all the necessary feelings to understand the essence of the scriptures and to put them in a form that is acceptable for the beings of the time, place, and circumstance. Otherwise, we cannot be a preacher. A preacher or a constructor of the universe is one who sees and after who applies. This is why these scriptures and those who receive the instruction to write, if there would not be this empowerment, what could they write truly? You understand? Which power could this writing have? This is why Prabhupada, he taught us never to be envious towards preachers, people who receive an empowerment. It is a very important instruction of Srila Prabhupada. Because if we are envious of a preacher, we become envious of the Supreme Lord Himself. It's not by ourselves that we preach. It is by the power of the Supreme Lord, by the strength of the Supreme Lord. And in reality, a pure devotee, just like Srila Prabhupada, he could read his books because he was conscious in this reading that it was the power of the Lord that manifested itself through him. This is the beauty of Vaishnavas. Never a personality like Prabhupada thought that it was through his own power that he could write, but simply by the power and the will of the Supreme Lord. And this is why when the books are authentic, they can generate an impact in the heart of conditioned souls. Those who have enough sukriti, pious credits generated from their previous lives. The other ones, it creates suffering in them. For example, if someone takes the Gita in his hands, read one word of the Bhagavad Gita, it brings sukriti, pious credits, pious activities that will allow for a person in his next life to start devotional service. And the one who already has somehow or other pious credits from his previous lives, you can directly think, wow, this is exactly what I needed. It's exactly this book. It speaks exactly about what I need to hear. And now I see and I understand what I was waiting for. And from there, a person can give his life. But the Acharyas explain that the faith does not appear simply by the strength of our own desire. For example, in this room, when we speak about Krishna, they want to sleep. And other ones, they taste bliss. All of this is due to previous activities. Certain started to progress and awake their devotion when they hear about Krishna. It generates ecstasy in them. And other ones, when they hear about Krishna, they want to sleep. And when they hear about a material topic, they become awake. So you can understand simply by looking. When you speak about Krishna, you can see who has Sukriti or not, depending on how they react to the Krishna Katha. So who has more or less, there are symptoms. When someone has pious activities, his ears, they're just like net. You know, like a net to catch nectar. Instead of passing through a conduct and escape immediately, they're like nets. They keep the nectar. It means that they trap this nectar and they transmit it in the heart. And this heart will be able to gradually make us understand our eternal feeling. After that, when we'll hear her verse by saying they have dark bodies, red, yellow, we'll be able to truly understand because we will be able to see the same forms when we will have a meditation. We will even be able to see the color of our own form. When lotus eyes will be described, we will be able to directly feel that we have eyes, lotus eyes. This is the power of the glories of the Bhagavatam, is that it can manifest all the characteristics of the soul. It's really like a medicine. It is the book, the most wonderful book that can exist. In reality, all the commentaries that are more detailed on the pastimes of Krishna, they are in reality just a manifestation of Bhagavatam that is more detailed. But we cannot say that is more elevated message than the Bhagavatam, because it's the form of Krishna himself. And that the form of Krishna, it manifests feelings for Srimati Radharani. So this book cannot be more elevated. It is not possible. But simply, it is the most elevated thing which is given in a way, in an intelligent way, homeopathic. You understand? Homeopathic. Intelligent. Like doses. You understand? So no matter what condition you have, it will awake you gradually to pure devotion. And this is something that is very important. This is why I read Bhagavatam. If you only have time to do other things, what is the goal of life if you do not read Bhagavatam? It is just like a suicide. If you spend hours to study something else than Bhagavatam, it means you did not understand you were the soul and you think you're the body. So if you feed the body, you will never attain Krishna. Never you will attain devotion to Krishna. How long would you pass in the day to discuss in vain? How long we could have used this time to study and read? If we observe, a lot of time in our daily life, a lot of time we waste. People in this world, they work so hard to make money, but everything will be taken away at the time of death. When we desire to win money, we start to suffer. I was writing this morning. I remember when I was walking in the village of Javat. It is a village that is so wonderful, where the inhabitants are so peaceful. Everything looks destroyed in Javat. People are very poor, but they all have love in their heart, and it smells very good. It smells good, doesn't it? It is a bath of simplicity. It is such an ecstatic place, Javat. I love this place. And I was explaining this morning by writing that just by walking in these streets, we can attain perfection of existence. Just by walking slowly, by looking at the inhabitants, by looking at the dogs, the insects, the plants, even by breathing this the bad odor. It is a place that is so wonderful, so wonderful. When you walk in the Western countries, people, they keep working 15 hours every day. They're full of anxieties. They live in terrible cities with buildings with 30 floors or 50 floors. This is not our goal, because in these cities, people suffer. If you're surrounded by people who suffer, it is very difficult not to suffer, because there's a bad atmosphere. It communicates with each other. It's difficult. But in this small village, when you go there, it is so peaceful. And when you say hi to people, they respond to you. They're happy. The kids, they want to take money from you, to tax you a little rupee. You give them a small candy. It's so peaceful. It's so wonderful. We need to travel, to meet other ways of living. And this is where we see that these places are not ordinary. Because people are not ordinary. When you see them, immediately you're situated in goodness. It's just like a cow. When you pet a cow in Vrindavan, you're in ecstasy. Immediately you are happy. In the same way, I saw people that were so ecstatic in India. I remember one lady, I was in the rickshaw. There was a young married woman. She was so humble. It was showing in her personality. It brought respect. It was just like for me. When I saw her, I had the impression of taking a lesson.
Il y a des personnages extraordinaires.
There are extraordinary personalities in the Dham. So wonderful.
C'est extraordinaire.
It is extraordinary.
Quand
When
j'étais
I was
à Terkadamba,
at
à un moment
Terkadamba,
j'ai passé quelques
at
jours à
one point,
Terkadamba.
I spent a couple of days in Terkadamba.
Et on était avec un baba.
And we were with one Baba.
Et à un moment, il nous a amenés
At one
quelques
point, he
familles.
brought us
On
to
a visité
serve
des
some
familles.
families. We visited
Mais il faut
families.
voir le standard de vie.
And we
Il
should
faut
see the
voir
standard,
comment ils accueillent un sadhu.
how they welcome a sadhu,
La dévotion qu'ils
the
ont.
devotion they have.
Mais c'est
It
inimaginable que
is,
ça soit le bambino qui a 6
it is
mois. T'as
incredible.
l'impression déjà,
Even the Bambino is 6
il
months.
sait déjà adorer un sadhu.
He already knows how to worship a sadhu.
C'est impressionnant.
It is very impressive how they live,
Comment l'étiquette qu'il y a.
the etiquette they have,
La place de la vache.
the place for the cow, the place for everything as its perfect place.
C'est vraiment impressionnant.
It is really impressive.
C'est cette vie qu'on a besoin d'entendre.
This life we need to meet, because if simply you look just at the Western countries, you will simply want to make money, to become powerful personalities. But what I was explaining in this book is that when I was working in famous places, I saw so many famous personalities. It shocked me when I was a materialistic person, and I saw personalities, so great personalities, who did not look happy. I had difficulty to understand, because in the cities, for example, they all have a projection on the stars, because they wanted to be like that. But when you see these famous personalities being frustrated, you think, what's left in this world? When there's no knowledge, it's kind of weird. It is just like a part of yourself did not have any filters. But finally, when you go to India and you have the knowledge and the law of karma, and you visit wonderful places, holy places, which are the holy places where the Lord resides, then you can understand that although these living beings are extremely poor, they have such wealth because they have the possibility to develop a lot of love and understand their eternal nature. And this is something very wonderful. And it is true that myself, when I met Vaishnavism at the beginning, with Western people, often they had a certain critic. They were criticizing people in the Dham because some of them were smoking. For example, in Nandagram, they smoke, they smoke nargile. They smoke nargile, with the pipe, and we have the impression that they're losing time, but it is so ecstatic. There are personalities that are so ecstatic. And finally, when we go for the first time to the Dham, we have this vision that that certain person show us that don't understand anything about the nature of the devotees of the Lord. But by good fortune, by the mercy of Srimati Radharani and the Holy Dham and the Vaishnavas, so gradually we can become conscious of the greatness of the devotees of the Lord. Jagadananda, for example, an associate of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is Satyabhama in the transcendental world, he was always asking Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to go to the Dham in Vrindavan. And Mahaprabhu told him, but it's difficult for you. He would never answer his question. But at some point, he intervened other devotees. But he got an answer finally of Mahaprabhu. And he told him, always stay under the protection of Rupa and Sanatan Goswami. Because unless we have spontaneous devotion, it is very difficult to live in these places. Because when you will see an
tu finis
old
par liquider, tu dis, ah,
man
qu'est-ce qui se passe?
smoking nargile, you'll think, oh, he breaks the regulative principles. He's already situated in the spontaneous devotion.
Voir qu'ils adorent Shiva.
You will see them worship Shiva.
Braj, ils adorent tous Shiva.
In Braj, they all worship Shiva.
Les
The gopis, the gopas, everyone worships Shiva.
Radharani,
Radharani, she worships Shiva.
donc,
So,
c'est des endroits difficiles
there are
à
places
comprendre.
that are difficult to understand.
Lorsque la dévotion
When
devient
devotion
mature et qu'on
becomes
a
more
une vision
mature,
de l'âme
and that we have a vision of the
corps
Dham
transcendantal,
and the transcendental
on
body,
peut comprendre le Saint Dham
so we can
par
understand
une
the holy Dham
expérience.
by an
Et
experience.
à partir de là, on peut
And from there we can
comprendre le
understand
fonctionnement du Dham.
the functioning of the
Pourquoi les gens
Dham
ont cette union.
and why people have this mood.
C'est très important.
It's very important to understand.
Avant tout, l'humeur,
Before
ce n'est pas l'action,
everything
c'est
else,
le cœur.
the mood is not the action, it's the heart.
C'est très important.
It's very important.
Il y a ce fameux divertissement.
There's this famous pastime.
Il y avait un cordonnier
There was
qui utilisait un shalagram.
a man who was using a Shalagram Shila as a
Il chantait la guitare Govinda
he was using a Shalagram Shila
dans son atelier.
as
Un
a
jour, un brahmana
to
est venu,
open his door, and he was chanting the Gita Govinda every day.
il a dit, mais tu peux
And then
pas
the
faire ça.
Brahmana came to him and said, "You
Il
cannot
a
do this."
acheté une somme.
So he bought him the Shalagram Shila.
Il a commencé à faire une adoration
He started to
extrême du
worship the Shalagram Shila in
shalagram.
great
Le shalagram, il a dit, je veux retourner là.
opulence. And the Shila said, "I want to go back to that
Le brahmana, c'était
shoemaker."
déjà un grand dévot.
The Brahmana was a great devotee
Directement parler avec le Seigneur.
because he was speaking directly with the Supreme Lord. And he asked why.
Il chante tellement bien la
And
guitare
and the Shalagram Shila told him, because the devotee there, he sings so nicely the Gita Govinda. And the shoemaker did not have a conscious, he was not conscious that the Shila was there, that the Lord was there in the Shila, but he was so satisfied in his singing of Gita Govinda. This is why spontaneous devotion is something very difficult to understand.
Les gens qui sont sur
People who are in
de suivre des règles,
in the nature to follow the rules,
ils voient un dévot
Vaidhi Bhakti, when they see a spontaneous devotee, they are lost. They criticize him and they think there are great offenses.
Pourtant, le dévot
But still, the spontaneous devotee,
tout le temps.
no matter what he does not fall down, because it is his nature to love Krishna. But the devotee who follows rules, strict rules, he doesn't do this, he doesn't do that, he follows all the shastras. As long as he goes outside of his rules, the desires will come. It's very difficult to understand a spontaneous devotee because he can do anything without deviating. So we should not imitate, because if you imitate, you will fall down. We cannot imitate, it is not possible. Anyway, if you imitate, you will see problems will come. This is why sometimes there are devotees, special devotees who come from the transcendental world to accomplish things in this world. And they are sometimes outside of, they're not in the rules, but this is particular. It is not everybody who can do that. So, we should always stay fixated in rules. Otherwise, we will fall down. The rules are just like a conduct that brings you toward perfection. If you take out the rules, but you're not qualified, at some point you will lose yourself. You will think it is devotion, but you will accomplish sinful activities. It's just a question of time. Do not imitate. If someone has a qualification, it is not because, even if you will be your spiritual master, we should not tell him there are rules there, because for him, there's no problem. But if you follow, Krishna will consider there's a problem for you. So it's not so easy. It is something that is important. It is time to finish now. Do you have any questions? Because she's late. There's one question. You do not ask yourselves any questions? What did I do? Just like a goat. A question?
Bon, et Soudan, une question. Ouais.
Sudam, a question.
Ok, question.
Question.
Pourquoi Brahma,
Why
qui a vu
Brahma,
Vaikuntha dans toute
who
ses
saw the
perfections,
Vaikuntha planets in all
quand il
its
a créé,
perfection,
il a
when he
pas fait
created, he did not create Vaikuntha.
Ben... Brahma est l'incarnation de la
Brahma is
passion.
the incarnation of passion.
Donc naturellement,
So naturally,
ce qu'il voit
what he sees
et ce qu'il fait, ça
and
crée
what
un
he
reflet.
does, it creates a reflection.
C'est la raison pourquoi
This
c'est
is
un
the
reflet.
reason why it is a reflection.
Une autre vérité, c'est
Another
que ce
truth
monde,
is that this world,
s'il n'était pas un reflet
if
de
it
la
will not be
vérité,
a reflection of the truth,
comment on pourrait oublier le
how
Seigneur
could we
suprême?
forget the Supreme Lord?
Comment on aurait la
How
possibilité
could we have the possibility
de savourer l'indépendance?
to
Avec Kunta,
taste
il n'y a pas
independence?
d'ignorance,
In
il n'y a
Vaikuntha,
pas de
there's no
passion,
ignorance,
il n'y a
there's
pas de
no
vertu
passion, there's no
matérielle.
good material goodness.
Il n'y a que la pure vertu
There's only
transcendantale.
pure transcendental goodness.
L'énergie matérielle
The material
n'est
energy
pas présente.
is not
On ne
present.
peut même pas faire d'erreur.
We cannot even commit
Vishwanath
mistakes.
Chakravarti. Il dit,
Vishwanath
on ne peut même pas
Chakravarti
tomber.
says we cannot even fall down.
Vishwanath l'explique.
Vishwanath explains this.
On ne peut même pas faire d'erreur.
We cannot commit any mistakes.
Vous vous rendez compte?
Can you believe
C'est
it?
parfait.
It is
C'est le
perfect.
monde de la perfection.
It's the world of
Donc s'il
perfection.
avait créé un tel monde,
So if he created such a world,
comment on aurait pu
how will we
combler
be
ce
able
désir
to fulfill these desires
d'indépendance?
of
Mais ça ne
independence?
veut pas dire que la perfection n'est
But
pas
that doesn't
aussi
mean that
perceptible
perfection is not
dans ce reflet.
you cannot perceive
Parce
the
que dans le
perfection in
reflet, il y
this
a aussi la
reflection.
réalité.
Because in the reflection,
C'est
reality
pourquoi
is also there.
Prabhupada
This is
explique
why Prabhupada explains
que la
that
matière n'a pas véritablement
matter
d'existence.
does not really have any
Car si on
existence.
accepte un
Because
objet
if
pour
we
Krishna,
accept an
on
object
devient
for
la
Krishna,
réalité,
it becomes spiritual, it
une
becomes the
manifestation
truth.
de la réalité.
It becomes a manifestation of the reality, becomes spiritual.
C'est un mystère.
It is a mystery.
Merci.
Thank you very much.